All right, guys, on today's video, we're going to talk about home inspections and can a seller actually refuse to make repair requests? Let's get into it. All right, so let's talk about it. Can a seller actually refuse to make home inspection repairs if a buyer's requesting them? The answer is absolutely they can. They have the right to reject them, but it does not mean it's advantageous for them to do so, especially if you find something that's reasonable. And in today's video, I'm going to help you guys understand what's actually going on in a home inspection period. Can you renegotiate after that period? And how to properly ask for a repair or even a concession. But the first thing I'd ask you guys to do is drop a like below. We're a young channel pushing out as much content as we can, and that really helps us get suggested and grow our content so we can show it to more people. All right, so let's get into it. So first thing that's going to happen when you decide to make an offer on a home is your realtor is going to be sitting down with you, having a conversation, and they're going to ask, do you want to have a home inspection on the property? Now, I believe that you always should, unless you are the most experienced buyer in the world. The reason is when you're going and looking at a home for the first time and you're seeing it in person, you're not typically going to be going on top of a roof looking for leaks, looking at the foundation of a property, opening up that furnace to inspect it. These are things that a licensed professional is typically going to do. And the reason it's important is if you find yourself in a position where you didn't have an inspection and you find out later on that you need to put a new roof on there you didn't know about, and you don't have the financial means to do so because you just purchased a home, you can end up in a really bad position. So it's important that you're having a professional assessing the property for you so you know what you're walking into. All right, so let's break down what that period looks like in terms of real estate lingo. Now, typically a average home inspection period is about a week after the point once you get a fully executed contract by that seller. So basically how that looks is we'll have a week to inspect the property with a third-party professional. And at that time, if we find anything that we do not like, we have the right to walk away at no risk to us with our earnest money deposit going back to us, okay? So I want to use, say, attic mold as an example because that's very common up here in Metro Detroit, Michigan. So you go in, you're having your home inspection, and you get the report back, and it states you have mold that needs to be remediated, and it might cost you between $2,000 to $3,000. What do? So there's a lot of different approaches that you can take. You can ask for the seller to do three things. Number one is you can ask for the seller to have the mold remediated by a licensed professional. You could go ahead and ask for a concession. Now, a concession basically is a credit towards your closing costs, or you can walk away from the purchase agreement and say, we no longer want to purchase the home. And all three options are completely fine. But let's talk about if you're actually trying to get the seller to say, I'll go ahead and remediate that mold or give you a credit. What's the right way to approach that? So first thing that you should be doing is you should always have, in my opinion, a licensed professional give you an estimate of what the work is going to actually cost you. The reason I do this is if you're negotiating a deal and I go back to the seller or the listing agent and I say, hey, we found mold and we think it's going to cost us about $3,000 to $4,000. That's what we're thinking it's going to run us. And we want you to go ahead and give us a credit or repair it. That seller is going to be either wanting to negotiate or reject it because you don't necessarily have any proof other than the inspection report. So what should you do? You should say to your realtor, hey, let's call a company out there. Let's have them look at the mold and provide us with an actual quote of what it's going to cost to get the work done. From there, once you have a quote, you can make a decision and say, do you guys want to go ahead and just remediate this mold and we'll go ahead and inspect it prior to closing? Or do you want to just go ahead and give us a credit for the actual amount it's going to cost us? And when you have a quote, there's so much more power in your ability to negotiate because you're determining your information based on fact, not fiction. You're not just guessing. In my opinion, most negotiations go haywire because people just throw out random numbers with no evidence. So always make sure you're having an actual quote of whatever item you're trying to negotiate if possible. Now, can you negotiate after that inspection period? The answer is no. You can certainly say that you would like something to be done, but it's no longer a contingency if you're negotiating out of that 7-day period. And what you risk losing is your earnest money deposit, that deposit you put down of 1% to 3% or even more of the purchase price. You cannot negotiate a home inspection after that initial 7-day period. So it's very important that you're fully understanding that timeline. All right, so lastly, now that we know our timeline, how to properly negotiate, and what a home inspection actually is, I just want to talk about having the right expectations around home inspections. Now, what we advise all of our clients to do when they're entering into that period is anything that we clearly could have seen prior to having this home inspection should have been reflected in our initial offer. Meaning, we're not going to go in there and ask the seller to repaint. We're not going to ask for new appliances. Anything that's clearly visible and was part of the house should not be used at the time of inspecting. It should be used for things that you had no way of knowing prior to. So let's say, for example, the furnace is bad, roof is bad, foundation, stuff you would have no way of knowing. Those are fair requests, but we're not going to go in there and ask for things that we clearly could have known prior to making the offer. So again, hope this helps. I would love your guys' feedback. If you could drop a comment below, always trying to put out as much content as I can to help home buyers and sellers in the market. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and have a great day.